Welcome to the Kosher Wine Podcast with Dr. Kenny Friedman and Rabbi Yisroel Bernath. Kenny, how are you?
Rabbi, I'm doing great, Baruch Hashem. Everything is great. I can't complain. It's great to see you. As always, I live through your social media, and I'm pretty sure you just came back from the what's it called, the Kinos Hashluchim?
I
So that's
did.
which I'm pretty sure I saw you. Were you the guy in the black hat with a beard?
Exactly, with the beard.
I did see your thing, and you were like up in the back corner somewhere, right? That
Yeah,
picture is amazing. I like kind of want to. I just want to see that whole operation taking place. That picture.
you should come with me one year.
I would love to do that. I have been to 770 a few times, and it's a cool experience. Crown Heights has a lot of great food, by the way.
Crown has great food, and the Kinus banquet, which
Yeah.
is where you can bring guests, is quite an experience. And just being there in the room with almost 7,000 people, it's the largest sit-down dinner in New York. It's a sit-down dinner for 7,000 people.
Really, it's seven. Wait, where is that held? How is that held?
It's held at the New Jersey Expo and Convention Center, and they literally take over the whole place, and
Wow.
it's a sit-down dinner.
Wow. Is there wine there?
Nothing to talk about.
But then we should do that. We should walk. You and I should do our thing there
I know, right?
the next year. I'm not on the email list, and I don't find out about
You
the
have to get an invitation, and I can invite you.
I would love to do that.
I don't
Maybe.
have that many connections, but that is one connection that I have that I can invite you to.
Well, you're my best connection, so there we go. Well, how was that?
It was obviously this year, they were still sitting Shiva
Right.
for Rabbi Kogan Hashem Yikam Domo, and it was heavy. It was very heavy and very beautiful, obviously, and wanting, people. I think a lot of Chabad rabbis from all over the world who don't usually come in for this because I mean I myself don't go every year. I think people made an effort this year to come because of that.
It looked to me that that picture was, I don't remember ever seeing so many people in one picture.
Yeah,
You know, we have a local Rabbi Shmuel Kaplan. I don't know if you know who he is. I think he's the
sure.
head of Chabad Maryland. And he has a picture in his shul, and he's like smack in the middle. And I think he gets that spot on a yearly basis. And I feel like, how do you even, do you have to like, is there like jockeying for
He has
position?
he has OG status. You
Yeah,
need
he
to
does,
have
right? I think he's been anyway. We have a lot of great Chabad Rabbanim in Baltimore. Rabbi
but
Harari is a good friend. He
yeah,
has the Israeli place right near my house, and he's awesome also.
I have to say so many Chabad rabbis drink good wine, and so
Yeah.
it wasn't at the banquet, but over the weekend I had some fantastic wine.
Well, first of all, that's a shame, and you should set out to change that. I mean, that's
I
what you and I are really trying to do anyway, changing culture, right? And opening minds. You should be on that. That's you gotta right. But so
yeah.
what did you? Why? What did you get to drink over the?
So
That
there's
was a
so
great. That was a. It was a great segue, by the way. That's why you're a masterful host. That was a fantastic segue.
but there were so many different bottles. I can't think about it offhand, but I love Sancerre. Like
Hey,
like like you love the bubbly. Sancerre is to me like the bubbly is to you.
so I love Sancerre. Don't throw me under the bus. I love
Okay.
Sancerre.
But so there were so many
I
new
love Sauvignon Blanc. I love Sauvignon
yeah,
Blanc.
there's so many new Sancerres on the market. So
Yeah.
there was one that I had actually at the Kinos and I brought a bottle back and it was just bottled. I don't know if you ever saw this one. This is
I,
Le Grand Secret.
I haven't tasted it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
So somebody the actually the guy who imports it, this Bam Wine and Spirits,
Right.
he lives in Crown Heights. And
Huh.
so I was happened to be somewhere where he was and he was tasting it and it's great. It's really I think it's my favorite Sancerre on the market right now. Granted it was just bottled. So
Okay.
you have like some of those barrel flavors still in
Uh-huh.
it.
What is it? What's the retail on that? Any idea?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I just
I would say that my favorite Sancerre that I've had thus far. It's honestly one of my favorite wines. Is the sub appellation of Silex, the Sancerre Silex.
This one I found was better.
Wow, those are big words.
Yeah, it was
One of my
it.
favorite all-time wines. I love that Silex.
Can
Uh,
we come to just the agreement here that if even if you don't like white, there's only really one white, and that's a Sancerre.
who doesn't like white?
Some people don't like white. They think white is
Not
not
me.
real wine.
Well, there's people who don't know what they're talking about. It's like I don't. I feel I shouldn't say this, but I feel like if I had to choose one to live with the rest of my life, I would choose the white over the red at this point. I don't know. I just there's it's also so much more flexible. Like I don't know. There's so many more times I'd rather have white. I notice red's
Uh,
so very heavy.
You know that Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the Baal Tanya, he wrote a Shulchan Aruch, and in his Shulchan Aruch he writes that white is more preferable than red.
I, I think we mentioned that,
Yeah.
but obviously, but that's not the standard in halacha though
No.
nowadays, of course. And yet, which I think I put in something I wrote once, you always will see it under a chuppah, and it's for the reason that's most obvious.
It's the most obvious reason. If you're, I have the few times there's been red wine under a chuppah, that white dress, it just
Yeah,
makes me so nervous.
it's right.
It
So
makes
it's
me
so
so,
funny
as
though
a
because
rabbi, holding that glass,
right,
it is the most nervous part of the wedding is like, don't spill, don't
of
spill.
course.
And of course, everybody wants to overflow it because you got to overflow the bracha, of course. So there you go. You're overflowing it and it's going to get on the dress. You know
I
it.
didn't know that that applies like more commonly than just Havdalah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a theme to overflow it there also, and where else?
Shefa,
Everywhere.
brachot.
You
We just want abundance, and wine is about abundance. And I mean, come on. Do I have to introduce you to Jewish superstitions? I mean, this is
right, but there's also Baltashtas aspect, isn't there? I mean, unless you're drinking it off the plate or whatever.
exactly why I don't spit wine.
Yeah,
That's the
well,
problem.
right. I agree. I agree. Speaking of, there was the first of the kosher food and wine events is next week in Miami. I think you told me you cannot come to that.
I'm
You're going to be somewhere
actually
else, which you'll talk about in a
I'm going to
minute.
be somewhere else. Yeah.
But I will, God willing, be at that, and I'll be wearing a fake mustache so no one knows me. But I don't spit anything unless I really don't like it, and that's. But I don't go to take notes of these things.
What day is that?
It is next. It's a good question. I feel like it's Wednesday, December 17th. When is that? That's a week from today, next Tuesday. Next
Wow.
Tuesday. And it's the only one really now that Royal's doing in the United States that is, I should say the only one, but it's the only one of the major ones that is open to the public, I think. The New York one is trade only. You know, when you walk around these things, I'm like, you see people like this guy's not in trade, but there are a lot of other people there, but it's not really officially open to the public. This
Right.
one is. It's an event. It's a fundraiser for WIZO, Women's Institute, Zionism. I don't know, organization,
Hey,
something like that.
nobody, no, what I love about this podcast is nobody pays us for anything, but I'm just curious. Why do you think, and I'm saying this like honestly, why do you think somebody should go to an event like that?
I happen to think all those events for the most part are good. The any criticism, I'll answer that in a roundabout way. Why what I didn't like about some of them in the past, the New York one was way too crowded. And it felt in some ways like the worst kiddish you've ever been to, pushing and like waiting in lines for food. That's not for me. Like
I
really
don't
crowded,
queue for food,
but it's also
period.
neither do I. But it's also maybe a little anti-New York bias because there were a lot of New Yorkers there. Um, the LA one right afterwards, a friend of mine, he's like, "You're going to the wrong one. Go out to LA." And we made it like a trip. I went out there for a few days, and the LA one was the opposite. And the last great one that I went to was in the Peterson Auto Museum, and it was very spread out. It was beautiful. Then they stopped doing that, and they started doing it in this former, I think it was like a club, but a massive famous place. And it's nice. It's a lot of fun, and it's not so crowded. I think what's great about it is that number one, you get to taste a lot of wines at once. That's hard for most people to do. If you're not in the wine industry, how many wines are you really going to be able to taste? Not that many. Maybe, I mean, max like one or two or three a week. And even then, it's going to be a lot of the same ones and the same styles. This really gives you the ability to taste from wineries you've never tasted. Now, of course, the kosher food and wine is only royal. So you're only getting royal wines. But of course, that is also a large percentage of the wines we get. Not
Especially in
all,
the
because
US.
I'm going to talk about one today that's not a royal, and the one you just showed is not royal. So there are obviously, and there's a lot of great ones that are not royal. But this is only a royal wine event, and for that reason, I mean, but the second part of it, which is the main reason I enjoy going, is for the people. The faces, and especially in New York, you see a lot of the winemakers and wine people, the wine industry people that I don't get to see that much. I mean, I don't still at this point in my life, I'm a family man, and I don't get to travel that much, and I'm paying tuitions. So it's great to be able to see a lot of
I'll,
faces that I know
I'll
and
make
love.
you a deal. I will arrange to be there with you if you want to arrange some live interviews for our podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it.
Do that. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
one of us is going to have to actually like, sit and edit though if we do that because then you're taking like sections.
yeah,
Okay. You arrange to be there next week, you mean?
yeah. Well, it just
Oh, I
I
thought you
didn't
were
realize it
away
was
next week.
I didn't realize it was Tuesday. I'm going to be back, and I can probably arrange to be there if
Okay,
I don't
amazing.
know. Are there tickets still available?
Thanks. So we'll get you in.
Okay.
That I'm basically like the shliach for that. I can not for royal, but I know people. I'll get you in there. Yeah, that's for
Okay. I,
sure.
I I think if we can get some FaceTime with some great people, let's do it.
Every year, my very dear friend and inspiration to me, Chaim Silverberg, he travels to these things and he walks around being Chaim Silverberg and interviewing people with usually Judd comes along, his sidekick Judd, and they're always fun to talk to. But I feel like you and I can do something similar. We can walk around, schmooze with people, or maybe we just
Yeah.
like set up a station. You know, Liz Kratz does that for the Jewish Link. She has like a kind of an interview booth, and people like they bring people in and speak to
Let's
people.
do you and I, we can do an interview booth for the event.
Yeah, we should talk. We'll figure that out off the air.
Yeah.
But talk about where you're headed because I'm
So
very
I have never been to Europe. I have reviewed so many wines from France and Italy and Spain. And so it just so happens to be that I'm going to Barcelona, and um, I'm going to end up in a region that I love so much called Proira or Proira, depending on how you say it. I'm sure I don't know Spanish, so I'm probably messing it up completely. And I'm going to Capsane and Elvi. And I know that you are like really good friends with them. I love to get some tips from you about my trip, and I figured maybe it could be inspiring for other people to be able to take that trip.
one of the biggest questions I get is like I'm going to visit somewhere. What should I do? And it's ridiculous because I'm in the same category. I've never been there. I am very close with the Cohen family of LV. I love them. They're among the greatest people I've ever met. And it's a no-brainer. I don't need to recommend anything. Go there. That's the recommendation, which is something I very badly want to do. And my wife and I do hope to do that at some point. It's everyone who comes back from there has only the best things to say about that experience. Are they going to be there when you're there? I'm thinking like I'm
So
sure David is going to
he's
be.
going to be in Florida actually.
Yeah, I'm sure David's going to be. I think he's
So,
already here.
so
Maybe
his father's going to be there, he said.
David travels the world anyway. I mean, he was in
Right.
New York for like a few months recently, but his father is going to be home
Yes.
in Spain. The great Dr. Moshe Cohen,
Moshe Cohen.
the legend, and I love him.
He
They're
he's like extended such a warm welcome. I can't tell you. Like,
they're the best. They're the best, and you know their daughter now is in the they've completed the family like they're all in the game now. Their daughter finished well, actually may still be studying, but she finished at least some of her studies, and she's working for the winery now too.
I mean,
Uh,
they produce like, I mean, the closed Masora and the Sublime. That Sublime is something spectacular. I think the new one just came out.
yeah,
They produced the EL 26.
right. But you know what's really their high-end wines are among the best ones available in the kosher world. There's no question. But I think what makes them special is that their low-end wines are among the best ones. You know, that
I love
LV, yeah,
that Rioja collection,
yeah,
the Crianza collection. It's
yeah.
actually Mavushal, which is shocking, and I love that bottle.
The first year it became Mavushal because it used to not be, and I
Right.
actually prefer when these bottles are not Mavushal, but because I'm always afraid of what happens. And then a first vintage, and I want to say it was like 17. I honestly don't remember. I'm not good at that kind of thing. I have to. That's why I write everything down. But that first year it was made Mavushal. It was a big miss for me, and it was heartbreaking for me. And then the second year it was back to being great. And I don't know what happened that first year. I think they knew that too, but I don't know. But that was the only. But now they're great again, and they're the best. It is nice that it's Mavushal in that low price range because they're ideal, and it's something I suggest to people all the time for weddings, and you can buy a lot of that for not a lot of money, and it's a great bottle, and they're just
The other one that I've theirs that I like that I think is very underrated is the Vina Encina,
yeah. I haven't had one of those in a long time. I haven't had one in a long time.
especially the cab. I like the cab.
I haven't had one in a long time, and also, and so you're going to Capsane. Capsani is an interesting story too, and he's someone I look forward to seeing. Is Jurgen from Capsani is a really great guy with fantastic hair, by the way. Makes me jealous all the time. I always look forward to seeing him. But they've the interesting thing about their wine that I want to point out, their wines are great, and people would know the Perach Habib and the Perach Petita is another great example of a cheap, inexpensive bottle, I
The
should
floor
say.
to floor.
And yeah, the high end, but also the low end. That's another example of a bottle that can be Mavushal $20 bottle, the Perach Petita. I say Perach because I was, you know what those names are. It's small
Yes,
flower. I didn't know that originally many years ago.
yes.
And they Perach Haviv, the spring flower. But those are great, and that's really exciting. I'm excited for you, and you should, as I told you offline, definitely conduct some kind of maybe our first like just solo one of us. But you should take advantage of that and try to.
Very hard. You're like I how can I do it without you?
I appreciate that. I have a feeling that Moises Cohen is a better fit, and knows a little more and is more engaging than me. I'm not that great, but thank you. I would think the same about you, but I haven't had the chance to do any yet, but I think you should. You should definitely do it. And I think everyone will appreciate that.
So what should I ask them to open to do? Like what should I do that you think that would be unique from being there?
What do I think that would be unique from what do you mean?
Like what should I do there besides obviously you'll see the vineyard. I mean a lot
I've
of
never been there. I don't know. I mean, I've
like
never been there.
I've tasted all their wine. So
I think it's an amazing thing again to just be there and meet the family and sit in their winery and drink wine. I don't there's something I always tell people also, and that wine is so experiential. It's like you can have the same exact bottle back in your house on a Tuesday night. It's like, man, it doesn't taste like it did in the winery. I mean, there's a good reason for that. It's experiential, and that's going to be a really remarkable opportunity to sit with, someone who's, and by the way, another fascinating thing about LV is that they are, as they say it, the first Jewish landowners in Spain since the Inquisition. It's a crazy thing. Jews were not legally allowed to own land until like 1979 or something like that. Something like not that long ago. So their winery is like the first Jewish-owned winery in hundreds of years in Spain. It's very cool.
wow, that's amazing.
So what have you been drinking? What do you got there? I know you have something under the
I do.
counter.
I have some stuff I brought, but I already spoke about my Sancerre. I love to hear what you have because you said you have a new wine as well. I'm
I
very excited.
literally I just got this right before. I'm gonna open it and then I'll talk. Well, I can talk about it first. Well, I should show it first.
Yeah,
I know
please
it's like
show
I've
it.
talked a few other things. By the way, thank God there's some stability right now in the north of Israel, and things are quiet for the first time in a year. How long? A year and 2 months. Um, so some of the whiners in the north are not under daily rocket fire, Baruch Hashem, and that should continue. And
I mean,
hostages should be returned safe, and all of our soldiers should come back safely.
Amen, amen.
Um, but this, and it's, by the way, it's no small thing that the wineries in the north were able to work on a daily basis, just cultivating the vineyards and also produce wine.
Many of them were not.
It's some, yeah, sure, some were not, some were, and
Mhm.
that was at no lack of Mesiras Nefesh, as they say. This is a very cool wine I have here, and
What
it's
do you
just
have?
getting to the States. Now, the my camera is
Oh my
so
gosh. First of all, okay, I know that series. They had the Majestic and they had
yes. This is the
the
Asufa.
what is it called?
So the Dalton, the Asufa is the series. My camera
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
bad. It's
So
like
they had the Majestic, the Lebanese.
Asufa is the series.
Yeah.
It's
And they had there was a third one as well in that series.
there's a bunch, and this is the Asufa is what they call. These are not my words, but they call Guy Aichel's playground. It's like he just gets to mess around and do whatever he wants, and they're much more limited release wines. And this one is really interesting. This grape is called Zuriman, which I don't know what is Zuriman. So I have this wondrous thing called the internet because I've never heard of this. I didn't even know this wine existed, honestly. Um, Zuriman, and I'm going to read from the thing. Zuriman is named after the place it was discovered. I know the background on this, but the Zuriman ruins in a Circassian village in the Golan Heights, right? So how did this grape come about? Over the last couple decades, one of the leaders in indigenous grapes in Israel is Dr. Shivi Drury
Right.
from the great Qvevri Winery, who also I think he teaches and works for Ariel University, where they have these wine programs. They did a massive kind of quest for indigenous grapes. And in doing so, they did genetic testing and figured ones that actually could produce, because genetically, they're not all even capable of producing usable wines. But one of the ones they found was this one, this Zuriman. And in 2017, they planted a vineyard at Dalton. And so this is the only, I wouldn't even say the only kosher Zuriman in the world. It's the only Zuriman in the world is in my glass right now.
Wow. So it's an
And it's
indigenous.
an indigenous Israeli grape.
I love that they've been working with these indigenous grapes. I think that
So
this is
cool.
really true connecting with the land.
It's so cool. And it's really it's part of the whole like you can look at it from a religious and spiritual type of thing, which we of course do, and say it's the land is blooming before our eyes as we
Mhm.
return to it, which we know to be true. But from a secular point of view, it's a very cool thing too about the renewal of the state of Israel and bringing old ancient things back in modern ways. It's all very cool stuff, and I on both sides I'm fascinated by it. But Shivi Jori is a brilliant guy who makes fantastic wines. Also, that's a place that should be visited. Also, about very cool place, and the wine's great. And by the way, food is underrated there. Very good food
Never
too.
been. Never been.
That's a cool place, and right next door to our friend Amichai at Chilo. They're like
Mhm.
literally across the road from each other. My neighbors are great, but they're not as cool.
Because you're in the
But
wrong neighborhood.
this is brand new. So I looked it up, and I was like, is this the first one? So it was 2017 was they planted. In 2021 they produced the first one. It did not come to America or even leave Israel. And this is the second.
I'm assuming because the 3 years, right? The Arla fruit and
Yeah,
not touching the vine
exactly why.
for 3 years, so they can't even get anything.
Exactly. So the first release was in 22 of the 20. Exactly why. And then at 22 was Shemitah. So then
Right.
we have this is the second one.
So how long ago was this bottle? Do you know?
I think very recently. I think very recently. It is.
Okay. I am very excited about this. I want to
Yeah.
hear your review live on the podcast
Well,
as
that's
you smell and taste. I just want to experience this with you. I'm going to sit back here and experience the Zuriman.
well. Let me ask you a question. Um, which have you tasted? Because I love the topic, and that's someone I would love to get on is Dr. Drury. Um, Have you tasted any other have you tasted any of the Argamon from Jezreel, any of
Of
these
course.
indigenous?
The Argamon, probably have a case of Argamon. I love the Argamon.
And how about the Batuni? Batuni is made by a couple places.
Yeah, I think I had Bat Shlomo did a Batuni that I had, and there's
So,
all
okay, right off the
yeah.
top. Okay, well, yeah, I guess you're going to sit back, but you can interject anytime. You don't have to sit back that far. Don't get you look a little too
I am
comfortable.
so excited.
And as they say, it's 504 somewhere. It's 404 here. So interesting nose. Here's a separate thing. I a lot of times, and it's the same thing I say every year, Rosh Hashanah, when you have a new fruit and whatever, and you taste these fruits, and there's a reason these things aren't mass produced. They're not that good. It's like if they were that good, they'd be on every supermarket shelf.
Right.
But that's not the case with something like this per se, because it was basically lost to the world until they found this, researched it, figured it was its own thing, and decided to renew it. So it's very cool.
These are thousands of year old. I mean, it's amazing that they're able to
Yeah.
do this. I mean, the
It,
Ottomans destroyed all of the vines, and this is unbelievable. So tell us. So what do
that's
you
a
think? What
very
are you
interesting
smelling?
post. I was a little nervous to open it because it literally just got off the truck and it was still cold from being in the truck. But but they say that anyway, bottle shock really is more like an airplane thing, is a change in altitude or whatever. So this did not go on a plane, at least that recently. Maybe it did. I don't know. It smells fantastic. The first thing I noticed is the very light color of it. I also noticed by looking at the bottle that it's only 12.5% alcohol. So you can see it's a lighter color, a lighter grape. Smells lighter. It smells, there's more of a perfume nose, a floral nose. You're thinking things like raspberry, like lighter red fruit. That's what I'm getting out of that. Very floral and perfumey and like a really nice nose.
I like that 12.5%. I find that a lot of Israeli wineries, they try to push the higher alcohol, thinking that it's going to be a better wine.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the biggest part of that is climate and it's hot there. So, for grapes to get to their ripeness, they're going to be more pushed, which means that it's probably not the best place in the world for a grape like Cab, and
Right.
that's why they have these super over the top cabs. But there's a mineral earthy, stony type of thing.
It sounds like you're describing a Beaujolais.
It has a similar type of profile like a Beaujolais, but without the carbonic maceration type of notes that you find with
Right.
Beaujolais. Well, anyway, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Okay, so really interesting wine. It's more tannic than I expected it to be right out of the gate, but I suspect that will calm down. I mean, this is brand new wine. I also didn't expect there to be a lot of tannins in such a light wine. Um, Very fruity, very easy to drink, nice acid, like a fun wine is how I would characterize it.
Mm.
There's nothing super complex about it.
So it fits Guy H.O.'s playground.
Yes. I mean, it's delicious, I would say, and it's a lot of those same type of red fruit. It's a little riper on the palate than I expected. I was expecting lighter palate. It's a little more depth to the fruit, I guess I could say, but more red fruits, good acid, and I don't know, crunchy tannins. I guess you could characterize that, but red berry, and really interesting and nice, very good. This is very cool. So that's the type of thing. Like if you're gonna put all that work into making this, I'm so glad it's something interesting too. It's not the same thing you're gonna find every day. But this is very cool wine. I would definitely suggest getting your hands on a bottle of this if you can. It's called Dalton. It's called Grounded is the name of the wine, but it's called Zuriman is the grape. And
How
it's
much Zuriman is in it? It's 100%?
doesn't say anything about anything else. I actually saw the notes earlier. I could probably find it. I did notice that it was aged in clay amphores that as he likes to do over there, which is cool.
It's so,
Um,
I think that is just fantastic.
This is, I'm looking to see if it's even, I don't think it's, I think it's about, I think I heard that it's like just about to hit the stores. So you heard it here first. That's a big recommend for me. Oh, I see it that I see it's priced on Kosher Wine at $32. They don't have it yet, but I see they sometimes they pre like set it up
Right,
so
right.
that when it rolls in. So I guess you're looking at about $32 retail.
Which is similar to what the other ones went for.
Yeah, I think it's in that same exact category,
Mhm.
the Asufa. Really interesting, tasty. How was that? How was that? How was my live?
I loved every minute of that. And I loved also being like you were doing the play-by-play and I was getting some color commentary in there.
Mhm.
It was like a Joe Madden pregame.
Exactly. Great acid. Um, my kids make fun of me that when I drink when I say great acid, they're always like, "You always say great acid." But I like this is right up my alley because it's really fresh tasting. Um, I doubt this has any oak on it. I hang on if you can talk for a minute. I know I have the notes somewhere. I'm gonna look.
Well, you know what? As you're talking
There it
about
is.
it,
I found it.
um, I have I have a couple interesting bottles that I opened. So,
Clay and foray. Yeah, it doesn't say anything
yeah,
about oak. No,
okay.
no oak. Only 1,595 bottles produced.
Wow. Okay.
All
So
right. Well, anyway,
really small
that's
run.
good stuff, and you should definitely try to get your hands on. So, what do you
Yeah.
got?
So, you either love it or you hate it. I love a Pinot. I look for a good Pinot. Um, I haven't had one recently from France that I thought was like wow. So there,
Back and enjoy, by the way.
what?
I'm sitting back and enjoy the Rabbi Bernath segment.
Um, so I picked up the Eola Hills from Willamette Valley, Oregon. Have you had this?
I have had it. And by the way, I not only spoke about that immediately afterwards. I got a text from Ami Nahari, friend of mine who imports the river wine. Great guy,
Yeah.
great character, and he's like, "You're mispronouncing the name. Do you know how to say it right? By the way,
No.
it's he says it's like darn it, damn it. I can say damn it. Well, it's Willamette. It's Willamette.
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 Willamette
Willamette.
Valley.
Willamette. That's what it is. Willamette.
So my close friend, childhood friend, Rabbi A.Y. Pearlstein, Rabbi Avram Pearlstein, he is the Chabad rabbi in Salem, Oregon. And we're very close childhood friends. And he is the Rav HaMachshir. He's the one who actually does the overseeing. And he told me about it. And I picked it up and yeah, there's like, it has they have some other versions of it. They have and I picked it up and I was really surprised. It's not exactly what I initially thought of it. Like it was obviously, the Pinot, like the red cherry, it had like, the raspberry, but there was like this very florally, like almost like rose petals and cloves. Like it was very spicy. I did not expect that from a Pinot, and it was just different. I can't say I've had too many California Pinots, and I found it really interesting.
Um, when did you drink it? By the way, Will, again, what is it? I hate saying
Willamette Valley. I know he said the same thing. I said it, and he's like, "You should know how to pronounce it if you're a wine guy." I'm like, I
it's just
mess
no,
up French places. I mess up Italy, Spain. I mess
it's
it
in my
all up. I'm
head now, but
American.
it's in my head. I know it. It's Oregon. I just wanted to correct you on that.
Yeah,
It's not
Oregon. Yeah,
California. Willamette
yeah.
is Oregon. I really liked it too. It's been some time since I've had it, but I like that there's at least one or two other of the Eola Hills. There's a I think he also put out was it a rosé from the
Hmm.
Pinot, I think. But
He
anyway,
put
yeah,
out.
interesting wines. It's a cool thing anyway. I mean, it's cool we're getting kosher wines from Willamette,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's a cool thing, and from Walla Walla and these interesting other regions, and where there are great wines in the world being made, then why shouldn't we be able to get them? So it's very cool, and props to people like Ami and Larissa who are getting this done, and like going to these places and bringing these wines to us because
And
that's
and I'm going to say also props to my friend Rabbi Perlstein, who is living there in Salem, who allows the hechsher to be actually like having a rabbi there that can
right.
actually oversee it.
Right. I was going to ask you because I missed that point you said. That's what Rabbi Perlstein is the Rava Machsher of the
of the
process.
of the process
Very cool.
for the OU, I guess, because that's what's on it.
That's cool.
But I mean, having these Chabad people don't realize, but having these Chabad rabbis living in these places that you and I probably would not live so quickly
Right.
allows us to be able to have an wine. Many of them end up
Sure.
becoming the Rav HaMachshir on these
Sure.
wines.
Sure. In France too, by the way,
Yeah,
just in the United States. Yeah. In France too. It's a lot of times it's Chabad guys at
and
some
because
of these
they're
wineries.
there. There are, I mean, you need the rabbi needs to be there a number of times over the process, and
Hmm.
so to fly a guy in from Israel is not always that easy.
Right. Right. That's we're gonna have him on at some point, but my friend Michael from Inve, Michael
Yes.
K. And his whole story about winemaking is based on the fact that he ended up at this winery because they thought he was the mashgiach or something like that. It's a funny story. He ended up there, and he's like, I don't remember the exact story, but that's his whole journey into winemaking was because it's anyway. It's but that is, I mean, it's a that part of it is interesting, and yeah, a lot of it's those Rabbi Perlstein shouldn't be overlooked in the process.
And that's what I was thinking about. And that's why I actually picked up the bottle in his honor. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And I was amazed. It was impressive. So,
Um, Go ahead.
yeah, did you have another one?
Oh, I don't. No,
Oh,
I
I
did have
have a
one.
bottle that I must show you.
Yeah,
I must show you because
I know
I,
about this.
this is hilarious. I opened it up last night and I'm like, okay, so this is the bottle. It's called Lonely Cat. It's so I'll tell you the background behind this bottle. It's from Beit El, but it's a white label. There's only this is bottle 900 of 1,000, so there's 999 bottles left of this because I opened up one.
Right,
And the story is that there's uh this Russian Jewish rock star. His name is Andrei Makarevich. I never heard of him. I'm not Russian and I don't listen to Russian music. I don't know if you are if you have a side hustle listening to Russian
one
music.
genre I'm not in is Russian rock, I guess.
So
No.
apparently, if you are Russian and you grew up, in the height of the Soviet, 70s, he was he was a whole big thing. Apparently, he not long ago, I don't know how many years ago, got married to this woman named Einat, and he did a private run for her of Lonely Cat, and they have three other cats and four other cats. There's three wines they did with Beit El, and he himself did like all the artwork for it. And somebody introduced me to it. So this particular one is the Beit El Petit Verdot Single Vineyard 2020.
Right.
Obviously, Shomron wine. I like wine from the Shomron, and I I mean, so Petit Verdot in general was like that emulsifying grape. It was like just the binder for so long on a lot of Israeli wines, and then I know Matar, like Pelter, did a varietal Petit Verdot, and I think
Shiloh has
huh?
one. Shiloh has a
Yeah, Shiloh did one, and now I see like it's becoming more popular to do these varietal Petit
there
Verdot.
are more of those, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's Beitel's wine, you're saying.
this is Beit El. This is like a white label. I think a lot more people are doing these. I'm happy for the Israeli wineries, by the way, to have like these white label wines. It's so good for them.
Why was that bottle specifically made?
This
He
was
made it for
made
his
for
wife's
Andrei Makarevich. He made it for his wife. I guess it's
right?
like an adventure. She wanted to get into winemaking,
Yeah.
and he white labeled it for her. That's why it's called Einat. That's her name. Okay, so this is
A
this
great
is.
label.
I'm not. I was told this story in confidence, but I got to tell you this story because it's hilarious.
You know we're not in actual confidence right now. We're
I know,
millions of
but
people
nobody actually listens to this. And
millions of people are listening.
well, so this story is that so there's like as many Israeli wines, like 10 hashgachas on it. So apparently one of the hashgachas was a very Haredi hashgacha. I'm not sure which one. So that's why this is not Lashon Hara, because it could be one of 10. Or maybe it is Lashon Hara, but too bad. Uh, so apparently they never knew about this label of like this cat or these cat. I mean, I could show you the other. I actually have the other one here. I'm not going to talk about it, but I have like this three other cats. Like it's like literally cats, and they call up the winery and they're like, "You cannot let this wine out. Like we cannot have a cat. The Haredi people are not going to allow us as a hashgacha to have a cat on our wine." Now, the wine is Beit El. There's nothing wrong with this wine. Can you explain to me what the problem with a
Wait, so
cat?
really a cat was the problem?
Oh yeah,
I
having a
mean, there's
cat on the
those.
label. We
There's been
have to
other
be
wines with like a drawing of a woman on. I know that was like Hashgacha had a problem with things like
okay.
that. But like a
That
cat?
make a cat,
Okay.
and they went absolutely berserkers on them. Like we have to approve every label. This has our hashgacha on it. If a Haredi saw this, they're going to be so upset because I guess it's a non-kosher animal.
So what? Okay.
I mean, I can definitely tell you that no cats were harmed in the creation of this wine.
Oh, yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. Is the cat attractive? Is that what?
I Beautiful, attractive cat.
All right, I don't even know what to
I mean, there
say.
are many people
I mean,
who
none of that stuff ever surprises me. It shouldn't surprise me.
I
I
know.
don't know. You
I
know
know a lot
what?
of
Like,
cat lovers that if you tell them wine and cat, like they're just this is their currency.
it's a sketch of a cat. Okay.
There's a sketch, is literally a little cartoon of a cat
Yeah.
on the
All
front
right.
of this bottle.
That's a crazy story.
And so there, it became a big issue. So from what I understand, the end result was they said just don't sell it anywhere Haredim live.
Okay. Fine. Well, I don't know where that is. Maybe in Portland, Maine or something. I'm not sure
I
where
don't
that
know.
is.
Anyway, I have my hands on one of them, and
Yeah.
okay, so I have to tell you, I like Petit Verdot. Do you like Petit Verdot?
Sure. Um, I'm trying to think of
So
one I've really liked. I don't know if they're the Four Gates makes a Petit Verdot, which
yeah,
it's fantastic, but
like
that's Benyo. I
so
don't
it's
know.
definitely, what do you get with these? I mean,
Yeah.
so typical, you get like this inky intensity,
Right. Right. Real dark.
very dark, not like your
No.
no, very, very dark. Um, like you get like blackberry plum right in your nose, like wow.
Mhm.
Mm. And I don't know why it is, but there seems to always be a little bit of smokiness in all these Petit Verdots. I'm not sure why, but this one also has like it's very smoky.
Well, is it oak aged?
It's definitely oak age,
Yeah.
12
Could
months.
be from,
12 months, 850 meters, 12 months in French oak. So yeah. But
yeah,
I don't
maybe
have that.
some
It doesn't
smoke.
have
That
that
also,
vanilla.
yeah, there probably yeah, can be some
It's
smoky.
like black pepper coffee, much more than vanilla.
And how do you like it?
No, no, let me try it. I had it last night, but I got to try it again.
I saw your I could say I cheated. I knew what you were bringing on because I saw your
I know I did a little
Instagram.
review on
Well,
Insta last night.
as a fervent follower of your feed, I saw it, of course.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. People always laugh at me when I look at the legs in the glass, like legs on your wine, and yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. There's legs and wine, I think are
I don't know.
yes
It's
and
part of
no.
the shtick. It's
Something.
definitely part of the shtick.
Well, it shows the alcohol. That's what it shows. I
Yeah,
mean, but it's like the glass itself is going to be a factor in that. You're not
for
going
sure.
to put the same wine in two different glasses. It'll look different.
Absolutely. Okay, Baruch atah Adonai, Elchem Baruch Hu.
Man. You see a main over a video? I actually don't know. I guess it doesn't hurt. So,
It's really good. It's 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 intense. It's vibrant, but really well balanced and low acidity.
better today than yesterday or worse
Better
today?
today than yesterday. Yes. Yeah. And I think that is, and generally, I think you and I agree on this, that like if it's not going to be good out of the bottle, then just don't, like, it should be good right when you open the bottle. Um, I can tell you, I had it last night. It was tight. Like it was very alcoholic, and like the alcohol is dissipated, and now There's a really nice, it's very like low, like you don't taste the alcohol as strong as last night. And there's just like very kind of low acidity, even tannins. It's a great wine.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Petit Verdot. It sounds like Israeli Petit Verdot.
Mhm. And it literally, when I was smelling it, I was like, this, why? I don't know why, but it smells like Israel. Like it
Right.
transports you to Israel.
Well, that's because there's ripe fruit in the glass. That's why. But I don't think Beit El gets enough mention. I think it's a nice little winery. They're good people too. That's a place I'd like to visit.
Hmm.
Um, so, but is
Why don't
that
you and I save up our cupcakes and go together? Let's do a nice trip together.
we have a lot of plans. We need to start acting on them.
Hmm. It's so good. This is a great bottle. If you can get your hands on this bottle, this is a great bottle.
So those are good. Those are two good recommends we just put out, I think, and that's always what we try to recommend bottles that are new to the market too. Both of these. Yeah, I'm sitting here sipping this, and I'm like, "Who is that?" Like, if you like a young, vibrant wine, it's acidic. This one I'm drinking and fruity. It's also like I enjoy
I
it a
know
lot.
that you can't predict this, but when you're tasting it, is it kind of like a Beaujolais, like it's not going to last long? Like you should have it now.
No, I mean, I think I can predict that. I try to predict that thing. I wouldn't say, I mean, not last that long is different than I wouldn't age this wine. I mean, this is a wine to drink in the next, yeah, now and for the next couple of years.
Right.
It's not a complex wine. It's not made that way. It doesn't have the structure and the to hold it. This is a drink now wine. So yeah, I don't know. It's not going to get better than it is now. This line is not going to evolve. That would be, and I think you and I can both say that, and prove
Yeah.
me wrong.
Well, I haven't had it yet. But from what you're describing, I would agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's a based on what I was saying, that's a fair assessment to make. Um, I wrote a couple things down because when we talked earlier, and I'm like, yeah, a couple topics. I'd like to have a couple things. I saw that that Avi Feldstein was in town last night in New York. I could not get there, but he did a tasting, and he's another guy who's. It's an interesting thing because I got into a discussion with someone about this topic, and I wanted to talk not so much about the Feldstein wine, which is cool, and Avi Feldstein is a legend in Israel, not so known in America. His wines have just been coming here.
His wines are amazing.
And so he was a winemaker at Seagal and known for the unfiltered, and but he's been making his own wine for about 10 years, and they just started coming in the last couple of vintages, and Royal just took over the portfolio of that, and they did a dinner last night with him. But he's another guy that makes dabuki, so he's another guy making indigenous wine.
Yeah.
But here's the topic I wanted to talk about, and I know you're probably like short a little bit on time, and this is
Oh,
a
okay.
bigger
But I just
topic.
want to mention Avi Feldstein's Gilgamesh. I
Yeah,
just had it,
yeah.
and I mean, I think again, we always say that the Jews they like their Cabernets, but you're talking about a Grenache Carignan Argamant Syrah. I mean, that is fascinating.
Right. And it's great wine.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, please continue. I just had to mention that
the
because
larger topic, and this is not specific to Feldstein, is the idea of like it's an interesting thing. So Royal's bringing in Feldstein wine, and if you look at the pricing on that, it raises an eyebrow, and
it's a fortune.
it's a fortune, those wines. And like I think it's such a
But they have a
difficult thing.
nice wooden box.
But it's such a difficult thing, and I think it's not true just with Felstein. I can name a lot of wines that come from Israel, and like most American wine drinkers that are only kosher, exclusively kosher wine drinkers, and even whole chicane people that aren't, are not going to buy a wine they never heard of that's $90. They're not going to because why would you risk $90 on a bottle you've never heard of? So then you typically are going to buy the ones you know. Like someone may be willing to spend $100 on a bottle of wine, then they're going to buy Castel, or they'll buy a
Right.
Flam because
Because it's no. Because it's no.
they know them and they're established names and reputations of consistent great wines. But like I don't understand really how that market. I mean, I do understand. I guess my question is on that. And I was speaking to Gabe Geller about it last night. And he said it's a funny thing with someone like Avi Feldstein. Avi Feldstein is a legend in Israel. Avi Feldstein can
People
sell
don't know
$90
that.
wine,
He's
ninety
amazing.
dollar wine, or 300 shekel wine in Israel because his name is well known, but in America it's not. So it's like I struggle to see how that's really going to succeed here, unless it gets a lot of like groundswell of people saying it's great wine, and it kind of gets that, that level of boost. But there's a lot of these wines. I mean, and they come, and I just like, and I feel bad for it because I know like a lot of these wines are really good wines. I just think they're very expensive. And I just
Like
like I don't know and I don't know how that works. I don't necessarily know the numbers behind it, why it has to be that. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but is that someone who knows a lot more than me is making the business decision to sell these wines. They're not all $90, of course, but to sell these wines, even like I think I saw the rosé was like $50. And I'm like,
yeah.
someone makes a business decision to sell that for $50. And it's like to me, like I don't get it, honestly, because I don't get how that works in the short term, or on the other side of it, how that's going to work in the long term to establish the brand here.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I was thinking about that recently with the new Gross Brothers Genesis. Have you had that yet?
I haven't, and I haven't, I don't even come across the gross wines,
Yeah. So I like the Onyx.
and they're all generally really expensive. The gross
Very
wines.
expensive. The Onyx was a fortune, and they just
Never.
come out with this Genesis. And actually, Jay does this like review every week, and I'm an avid follower of his. And he just reviewed it. He reviewed it, and the same night he reviewed it, I was actually drinking it. So it was interesting to kind of compare that. And again, like it's a wine that's not known in North America, and they're well packaged. Like the Feldstein, I think the one thing they did with them, the Genesis and the Feldstein, I mean, whoever was figuring this out with the marketing, they're like, they must have said something like, it's not well known. Let's put a great box on it. Let's package it well.
Fine, but and first of all, I'm saying the Feldstein one because it is backed up by being great wine. There are other wineries I can mention that sell for a lot of money that the wine's not even nearly worth that. That's a
Right.
different problem. This is my question on this is not that it's not worth the money they're charging. That's a different conversation. My question is, you're introducing a wine, and I understand your answer. You're putting it in a package and packaging that makes it look the part. But still, like if I'm a regular casual wine drinker, not a very rare drinker, but a casual drinker, I go into a liquor store, even in a place like New York where you can find this, you're not even going to probably be able to find the Feldstein locally for me. But you go into your store and like, why are you guys, if you have $100 burning a hole in your pocket and you're buying one bottle for Shabbos, why are you buying that and not Castel or Flam or, Herzog, a fancy one, or Yarden or something, a really established brand? Why are you willing to take a risk on $100 bottle? I wouldn't be. If I was a casual drinker and I didn't know that much, and who are you relying on? Some salesman in a store? I mean, who's probably pushing it? Why are you taking that risk? So I don't understand that's what I struggle to figure out how that's a workable model. And then even more so on bottles that aren't really worth what's inside.
I think, I really think this is you and I, and it's taken me a long time to also figure this out, and probably you will agree with me on this, is that it's not 1995 anymore. The Jewish community, the kosher community, it does buy expensive wine. There is a market for it. People do have that disposable income. Thank God. I'm happy for them that they have that, and there's a market for it. And people will walk into a store, and the guy behind the counter is going to say, like, look at this bottle. It's a beautiful looking wooden case. I mean, these Feldstein wines, they're all coming in these beautiful wooden cases. Look at this. He's going to walk into his friend's house with a gift for Shabbos. It looks great. The guy in the store only recommended it because it looks so good, not because he knew anything about the bottle. And it works. It works because obviously they're selling wine. If they weren't selling the wine, they wouldn't be importing it.
Okay, fair enough. It's kind of a devil's advocate thing because I agree with you, and I think I have I say the side that you're saying all the time locally in Baltimore, and people are like, why isn't there fancier food and fancier this, and I say there are enough people that are interested in these things, and it doesn't mean they're throwing money away, but people and it's not a shameful thing either to want to have nice things and to want
Yeah.
to have nice food, and we're allowed to have that. God put that stuff here too.
I think
So
it's wonderful. But I have a very close childhood friend. Might as well mentioning my childhood friends tonight. Um, Mendel Siegel, who moved to
sure,
Cleveland, and we were like friends since we're 5 years old.
sure.
And he's opening up this new Italian dairy place, and he sent me some videos last night.
In Cleveland,
In Cleveland, it's
right? I
opening up.
heard that.
Actually, he's doing his like friends and family pre-open tonight.
Oh, so cool.
He sent me a video last night. It looks amazing. The pizza, I'm telling you, I was like, you know me, you like, and so, and a place like Baltimore, and I think Cleveland is very similar to Baltimore. Like people said to him,
Whoa, whoa.
um,
Don't
okay,
push it
sorry,
that far.
sorry.
Cleveland, Baltimore has a lot of football history too. You should.
I know, but the Jewish community is both lovely communities.
No, I know it is a similar community. You're right.
And people said to him, "You're moving to Cleveland. This is not Harding. This is
Right,
not Florida. What are
right,
you doing?" And his barbecue place is great. I've been
right.
there, and now he's opening up tonight this dairy place. And I think that I think there's a new world. It's a new world of kosher. We're not doing Mogan David, King David, Carmel King David anymore. Like it's a
Right,
new world. People are interested in good wine. They're interested in good food, and
right.
this generation is going to pay money for experiences over things.
I agree. I think that's very accurate. I did an event. We mentioned it before. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
fun.
Tell
And
us about that event. You
I'm
must.
not going to talk
Wow,
that
that looked
much.
amazing.
Except that another interesting wine, and I probably should have spoken about this. We did this Georgian. Now that you were talking about Georgian also earlier, there's a new Georgian orange wine on the market, and it's I don't know how to pronounce it. It's I think Qvevri is how you say it. That's the style of
You
wine.
need to
It's this
get
orange
the
wine that's made
Georgians
in
here.
it's made in a clay like an earthenware pot that they bury underground, and it's like the wine of Georgia. And there's a kosher one out now, and um, it's like GRW is the winery. It's called like Georgian Royal Wine or something like that. It's like $18. So I bought it on a whim for I did a birthday party on Saturday night in the DC area, and for lovely people. It was a lot of fun. And I'm going to give out a shout out to one of my friends who's bringing. This is how I do it. And this is why it spurred my mind, because I have a friend in Baltimore, a guy named Zalman Jacobson, who's making who's making pizza that's fantastic. And so I do these parties here and there, like food, wine, whatever. More of the food I do. I also talk about the wine. The food's all the work. Wine is fun.
Yeah.
And I've been bringing him in because he makes these like outstanding pizzas, and people are happy to spend the money for these things I see, and get a great experience. And like so, the lady who we did it for, it was a special birthday for her, and she's like, can you get any orange wines? And I found that one. We also tasted the Shirah orange, the recent Albarino.
Oh, how is the Albarino?
So I knew this was gonna happen. It's so funny because of the two wines, of these two orange wines, I loved the Shira Albarino. I loved it. It's right up my alley because it's super weird and funky, and it was not a crowd pleaser. It was not at all a crowd pleaser. It tastes it's a similar profile to like a sour beer a little bit, which I like, and it has like it's a more heft to the body, and it's like real funky. I loved it. This Georgian one is a crowd pleaser, and like everyone loved it there. And I'm like, it's okay. I would drink it. I mean, I would drink it. I did drink it, but and it's cool that it exists. But it was very simple wine. The Shira Orange Albarino was amazing. I loved it. Um, it's an interesting thing also that I was pointing out to everyone is that only with orange wine and rosé, it's just like, oh, we're serving rosé. No one said very rarely. You see it more though, but you see like rosé of Pinot Noir. Like, shouldn't it be? Why is one rosé like another? It's not at all.
Not at all.
So it's like it's interesting that it's just called orange wine. Orange wine from what? Or how is it made? And like rosé is a similar thing.
I've
Anyway,
gotten into Georgian wine recently. I think that there's something there, and I understand why it was a crowd pleaser. There's something interesting. The old vine, I like pure wine, and there's a certain methodology in Georgia that's like a purist methodology, and I've been learning a little more about it, and it's fat. First of all, whoever uses clay cheres, like earthenware, they literally bury. The story we have in the Gemara, all these stories of like the barrels are made of earthenware, and that
Right.
they still do that process.
Well, that Dalton Asufa is it's
Yeah.
a made in clay, but correct. It's the most traditional process. And what's interesting about it is I think the whole wine industry, not just kosher, got very into oak for a long time. And that's not to take away because now there's like a kickback to oak. Everyone's like it's over oak, over oak, over oak. There's obviously something very special about oak, and oak is allows air to go in and out, and it does a lot to help wine. So I wouldn't turn immediately on oak. But it is cool because the earthenware doesn't affect the wine as much. It doesn't, like oak really comes into play in the taste of the wine. The earthenware, much less so. But the orange wine is a cool process also. And it's funny how many people they think they're about to taste something that tastes orange when they get it. When in fact it's as we know, it turns orange from the skins being left in
Mhm.
longer. And I don't know enough about this whole Qvevri thing and like underground, and that's I got to read up on that. But it's very cool.
Maybe we should
On the
let's
picture on
have
the
somebody. Let's
yeah we
invite
should,
somebody who knows about it. I think 'cause I want to learn more about it. It's fascinating, the
yeah,
process.
I agree. So, but anyway, that was fun, and I've been doing more of these things. It's not these things. It's not what I do for a living, but as long as they're fun, I continue to do them. I love them, and like I know you do
You
lots of
had me at the live jazz. That was great.
that. What?
You had live jazz there, right?
Not this thing. Yeah, that was a different. Yeah, not
Oh,
at
a
this.
different event. Well, what was that event with the live jazz? That was good.
I'm not sure which thing you were thinking of. That was something I was working on, I think maybe, but I
Okay.
didn't have live jazz at this thing. I would have loved. I love live jazz. I have a friend, chef, Chef Ita Werdiger. I think she has a. I think she lived in Crown Heights. She does these things. She's renewing. I'll give her a shout out for her thing. She had a thing back in the day she called the Hester, and it's something I always wanted to do. She basically married the whole mix of everything I love at once. She's a far better chef than I could ever be, but she's like really cool food and a very cool venue with live music and interesting wine. And they always have like some live musician, something interesting. And so she's doing one coming up where they have someone, I think it's jazz or something like
Where is that
that
in New York?
in New York. In New York, yeah, not in Baltimore.
The New Yorkers,
I
they
do
go
the
to good
Baltimore
stuff.
ones. I but just mine aren't as cool as hers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll try to like link the thing because you could probably I don't know if it's she probably keeps it very it's a very small invite list. They're very cool things. Anyway, but this is it's been fun. I know you have to go by 4:45, and I know that's
Oh, I am
getting
so
up on us.
loving every minute of this.
This has
Just
been
like
fun.
hanging
I know
out,
it's been
drinking wine,
sure.
talking.
It's been fun. I really am looking forward to you doing something in Spain. I think you should. Maybe I can even hop on. Maybe we'll figure out a way to do that.
Okay, let's figure it
I
out.
don't have to, but I'm saying if you're like that hard
No,
pressed about me, which I don't feel
I'll
like you
see if
are.
naturally, if it
You're
works.
the media superstar, not me. I'm a nobody. I'm just a guy, You're a media superstar. You're all over.
You don't underestimate yourself.
I'm a
You're
nobody.
not too shabby.
Thank you. But you'll be fine without me, is my point. You would be fine without me, and you have been fine without me.
Well, we'll see if it naturally turns into something, and then
Yeah.
I'm excited to report back though, and I'm excited about your Florida sitch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of cool stuff. So we'll hopefully
We should continue talking about it because I think it's important. I think a lot of people don't. I don't know where people get their information anymore because no, their stuff doesn't go out. Like we don't find out about things. So I think it's important that if we find out stuff, we should talk about it.
I try to like bring up when there's events and stuff like that, which is and there are. This is we're getting into event season. There's a lot of events and of course always in the
Because
New
the
York
harvest
area.
is over.
Yeah,
When
so
the
now that's
harvest is over, the winemakers can come hang out with us.
right. That's when they come out and have fun.
Yeah.
For them, it's business, but for us, it's fun. Real fast, you probably never seen this. My camera's terrible.
Yeah.
Camuna. See that?
What does
Camuna.
that say?
Camuna.
Amuna.
Camuna.
What is
Camuna.
Amuna? Yeah, what is this?
Camuna. Camuna.
Camuna.
Yeah, it is. So this Camuna is made in Philly.
What?
Yeah, I really should have spent more time talking about that.
What is a Philly wine now?
There's Philly wine for a few years already. Really, like no one talks about. Let me see if I can pull up their thing real fast because I'd like to.
I have a friend
Um,
that just moved to Philly.
so the
Now I gotta
winemaker.
tell him I gotta come visit.
So I don't even know what I don't know if they have. You probably can visit them there, but and he's making like really interesting stuff. Um, Camuna is, I think he moved like 4 or 5 years ago. Ellie Seelens is his last name, was a winemaker at Covenant, where he was a cellar rat or whatever the title was, but he learned the trade at Covenant. And then
With the Rebbe.
he and his wife were great people, and she's an artist and she like does the label art, which is always cool.
Oh, like
Um,
it's the
I
same
think
thing as Covenant, like Jonathan Haydu.
very similar to Jonathan Haydu, right? These guys, I mean, because they're all artists themselves. I want to pull up the
Why is it that all the great musicians, all the great artists, they were all friends? Like if you look throughout history, and all the great winemakers in the Jewish
right,
world are all friends.
right. It's funny because I just yesterday was reading about some like he lived a very sad life, but some Jewish poet from like the 1930s, 40s era, and like they were all friends. Those guys, they would hang out and like
Who, like Franz Kafka?
I mean, in the same world. This
Yeah,
guy's name was Schwartz. His name was
yeah.
Delton.
They were all contemporaries.
And he had a very sad life, in fact, but a genius on many levels, and like they were all like they just hung out together. So I'm looking at his shop, and he's making these are his current offerings: Blau Frankish, which is a mid Atlantic
Yeah.
grape variety. Fredonia, I don't even know what the heck that is. Um,
Hold on. So
North,
this winery is in Philadelphia.
it's in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia proper, and then he has a Cab Franc. Let me see where it is. Let me see where it is.
The city
It
of
says
brotherly love.
Philadelphia, PA. He's in Philly. I'd never visited them, but he also has made interesting stuff like, mead and cider. He makes a bunch of these kind of things, and they're it's a cool little place. So I don't know.
That is really
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, they're on Instagram. I'm looking at it right now. Or CamunaCellars.com. But great people, and I haven't bought their wines in a couple
Where
of
does he
years. I
live?
gotta
Like
get some of
Ballackinwood,
these.
or what is it called? Ballackinwood or Ballacinwood? I forgot what.
I think they're in Philly proper, but I do not know. It says Camuna Cellars, fermenting wine, cider, mead.
And it's all kosher.
See, he has an interesting hashkafa, I think. I think he has an interesting hashkafa. So I shouldn't say it's all what anything everyone would drink, but I think it's an interesting hashkafa because his thing is very small.
I can't believe I never heard of it.
I think this was, wait, where is it? Anyway, this was not only an interesting wine. So this was OU. The one I have in my hand is an OU, but I think he has like a more interesting hashkafa nowadays. If I remember right, I may be wrong on this. I shouldn't say, but this was an OU, and this was made out of the Mission grape, which is a weird grape. And honestly, like when I first opened it, like this was a 2018, so I had it obviously sitting in my basement for a while, in my cellar for a while. But when I first opened it, I did not care for it, and also, I think these guys made it. I think he got the grapes at the same time as Heydu did, because Heydu also made a mission that year. I don't think Shirah did, but I think Heydu also did. And they were, I think, working together back then for that 18 vintage. So he made a little bit for himself also. And Mission is a weird grape. But it's funny because I opened it. I'm like, the heck am I ever going to do with these? I still have like 4 or 5 left, I think. And I opened it because I made for that event. I made wine poached pears, which were delicious. We did it in
Mm.
I have a great recipe for that. If anyone wants, they can reach out. If anyone's still listening
Mm.
5 hours into this podcast, and I did it
Right?
with this, and I did it with this vanilla bean ice cream and
Oh, yes.
and crushed pistachio. That was a dessert. It was really awesome.
I am coming to Baltimore. I need some of that vanilla bean and crushed pistachio.
But as any great chef, you pour some of the wine into your dish, and the rest of the wine goes into you. So I tasted it, and I was like, it's a lot better than it was. I actually like pretty good. I like enjoyed it, and my wife loved it because it's like more up her alley style of wine. But
I
just goes to show you
I am so in agreement with what you just said. And I want to just specify this for those of you who didn't catch what Kenny just said.
what when I called myself a great chef.
No, that also I'm in agreement with. If you won't drink the wine, don't put it in your food.
Oh, interesting.
If you won't drink the rest of it, then don't put it in your food. So many people are, oh, that wine went off. It was sitting on the counter for 2 weeks. I'll make a reduction with
I think
this.
that's probably true. I've actually never thought about it that way. I've let a lot of wine, I turn a lot of wine. If I may not like it, I may like let it sit and really like kind of turn into red wine vinegar. Which by that point I do like it because
Right.
it's red wine vinegar. It's um it's interesting to say that. I've never I think I actually have heard you say that, but I don't it's hard for me to even do anyway because I don't have a lot of wines in my cellar that I don't like. And that just doesn't mean I'm generous with wines. I don't buy wines
Well,
I don't like at
sometime like
all.
some guy was trying to offload a few cases of whatever wine, and he's like, "Oh, I'll give it to you for cheap, and you can use it for cooking." And I'm like,
Right. Why would I
"I'm
do
not
that?
gonna drink it."
Right. Well, it was a great dish and I enjoyed it when I drank it. And that's another cool little wine story. And I've forgotten about them. I really need to reach out and it's probably some place I should visit and see what he's up to. But like I said, he's also makes like these cool, he did like a cider wine mix one year. He does like cool experiments, which I love experiments. Like who needs another like boring cab? I like experiment. It's a wide world, which is why I'm drinking Zuriman today.
Zuriman for the win.
We're lucky. We're living in a great age. What can I
Living
say?
in the era of proliferation of kosher.
Well, listen, have an amazing trip. Travel safely, and please send my love to all the aforementioned parties of Spain.
Absolutely.
Great people, and maybe we'll see each other in Miami now, and we'll talk offline about that. We'll try to get you there. It'd be great.
And if you are still listening to this, if you are still listening to this, you are our friend. Because if you've lasted this long and if you send us an email, kosherwinepodcast.com, we will mention your name on a future episode. Because if you're still listening to our rants at this time, then you deserve an honorable mention.
I agree. Here, the only problem is that if we mention no one next week, then everyone will know that no one listened to it.
Then it's the
Some
truth.
people are just shy. They don't want their name mentioned. A lot of people
Then we will mention Anonymous. Anonymous has
anonymous.
sponsored more kiddishes and hacked more computers than anyone else.
All right. Well, Rabbi, it was great seeing you. And yeah, look forward to getting together.
This is exciting. Thank you for this time. It's just a beautiful time to spend together.
Great.